And then number 4, sufficient funds for the tourism development. And again, like I said, it's probably the key roadblock to most every development project. But you can be innovative. You know, is there some corporate entities that maybe would pony up for some dollars? Or maybe the local area banks or American Legions. A lot of them have charitable gambling. You know, just a number of different things. You have to just kind of be innovative and say, you know, we can't always ask the county or the city to pay the bill. Who else is out there that could help us? And then just research that and look at, I mean, the worst they can do is say no if you go and ask. But if you've done a good job of educating them on why it's important, they probably aren't going to say no. Now, you might, backing up just a little, how do you educate them? Number of ways. Through meetings, any newsletters that are out there with organizations or the chamber group or, you know, whomever is out there. School probably sends out newsletters once in a while. I'm sure the city sends out utility bills. Ask, and they might let you slip a little insert in that when it goes out so it hits every resident. Then you can just start saying, using some of these facts and figures. Did you know X number of dollars are generated? You know, the next time around, did you know tourism in our county generates however many jobs it generates? Different things like that. If you do that enough, pretty soon they're going to start thinking, oh, this tourism thing is, you know, it is a big deal. Okay, strategic planning. Strategic is just it's just a big word in front of planning. Just planning, you know. Basically, you need to make a plan of what it is you want to accomplish and how long is it going to take, or how long would you like it to take to get it accomplished. Okay? Then, once you have this plan, okay, this is what we're going to do, then I always say it's plan your work and then work your plan. In other words, you got this plan that says this is what we're going to do, then you just don't put it aside and say, well, forget about that. We'll go do this. You know, once you've got that there, you got to follow through and try to work through that plan that you've made. Coordination and cooperation between business persons and the local leadership, that just boils down to communication, communication, communication. In other words, make sure everybody knows what's happening, what's going on, so that you don't have, let's say as an example, you work on getting a motor coach to come through here and spend some time along the highway because it's a scenic byway. Make sure your local businesses and that know when these people are coming. I've seen smaller communities put up signs in their windows, the business, welcome such and such a bus line, or whoever the group is. That goes a long way because that makes those people feel like they're guests. You know, they feel like they're wanted, and they're more likely to stop and spend their money in places that they feel wanted. Cooperation between rural tourism entrepreneurs. In other words, if you've got several people within the area, if you've got an elk farm or, you know, whatever the case might be, somebody that has a corn maze in the fall, you know, somebody else that has a strawberry patch that they'll let people come in and pick the strawberries, you know, just any kind of thing like that. If you work those people together, in other words, get them to work together for 2 reasons, well, more than 2, but basically 2 reasons. So you're offering a bigger picture to those potential tourists. Because again, you can give them one little thing to do, or you can give them a dozen. And which are they most likely to go to? The area that gives them a dozen things to do rather than just one. The other thing is, if you work with them so that they cross-sell each other. You know, nothing works better if they're visiting your place and you say, well, did you know that she's got such and such just right down the road here, or just down the next block? And a lot of times people will do that. But it takes an effort on each individual to cross-sell their other neighbors, the other people that are trying to do the same thing. Number 8, information and technical assistance for tourism development promotion. We're the promotion part. Explore Minnesota Tourism, we can help with the marketing. We can come down and, it's one of the things I do is sit down with the group. Once you have the product developed, then we can sit down and help you come up with a plan of how am I going to market this. You've got like the Department of Employment and Economic Development, commonly called DEED, the University of Minnesota Tourism Center, and the initiative funds. Now, the Minnesota Initiative Fund. These are all people that have funds available and planning people available that can help you in the actual development stage, where you're developing the product. What we do is once that product is developed, then we help market it. We're kind of the marketing arm of the whole picture. So,
are you hooked like to televisions?
Pardon me?
Are you hooked to televisions and radio stations? And
we do, yeah, we do some some TV and radio ads. We send out, as an example, one of our guys and staff people in St. Paul sends out regularly. Like it's not a news release, but it's like a news release to radio, TV, and that. Again, something that's new or something that's unique that they know about, then they'll send that out. And you never know for sure how many are going to pick up on it, but they do. They pick up on it and put that on the radio and that. So, which brings up another thing that you can do. And again, it costs very little money, but it costs some time. And this is something that I used to do. Going back 13 years before I worked for the state, I was the director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau in Fairmont, Minnesota, where I live. And what I used to do, because we had a very small budget, we didn't have a lot of money to work with, I used to send out once a month, I'd send out a news flash or a news release. I can't remember what I called it. It wasn't a news release, but it was something like that, where I would pick something in the community that was happening, and I would highlight that, and I'd send it out to various media sources. And a lot of people thought I was crazy, but I sent it out to the Chicago Tribune, Des Moines News. I didn't the New York Times. I went to the big guns. I didn't mess around with the little guys close in.
On the internet? Was it internet, or how did you do it?
That time I actually sent them information. The internet was not quite. This has been quite a few years ago. Mm-hmm.
No, I'll be done.
Yeah. And the one instance, there was quite a few that actually worked, but one instance that worked, we were promoting the Fairmont Opera House had a group of gals that dressed up as flappers. And when a coach would pull up, they'd greet them. And there was one gal that she called herself Faye West instead of Mae West. She always said, "I'm Faye West, Mae's sister." And she had the voice down. She was good. She really did an excellent job. She was a wife of one of the local doctors. And then they go in and they dance the Charleston, and people loved it. They thought that was great. So that's what I highlighted on that one time. And I had Destinations Magazine call me and ask more about it. Could I send them pictures, et cetera, et cetera? And Destinations Magazine is a North American publication. It goes all over the U.S., Mexico, and Canada to the National Tour Association members, which are all your big tour operators. And lo and behold, in one of their issues, I had a half a page in that publication with all the talking about the Opera House, and even had a picture of these gals, these flappers in there. And just for me responding to them once I sent out that initial thing. If I were to buy that, this is way back, at that time, that half a page would have cost $35,000 to put in there. That was more than I had for a budget for the whole year. But by doing that, I was able to get that basically for free. And so you can do those kind of things. I don't know how many of you have ever been associated with a printer or a publisher. Anybody?
I'm married to one.
Oh, okay. Well, then you'll know. When they're doing their newspaper or their magazine, they put all their main articles that they've got information and their photos and stuff in, and then they start going through it and they say, "Oh, I've got a spot here. Well, there's a blank spot over here." And if you're just lucky enough to have sent the information about whatever it is that had, just happened to go across their desk the day before. I remember something about LeRoy, and then bang, you get it. Now, it doesn't always happen, but it can happen that way. So it's a way to get exposure at a very, very small cost. Okay, where was I? Number 9, good CVBs. First, I want to explain, does everybody understand the difference between a chamber and a CVB?
Well, what is a CVB?
Okay, a CVB is a Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Okay.
Okay, the difference between the two, and a lot of times they're housed together, but their focus is different. The chamber is involved with the local businesses, trying to make businesses good, work with festivals and events and all those kind of things for the residents